It is now 5:34, and I call the San Fernando Planning and Preservation meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Here.
Commissioner Diaz,
Present.
Commissioner Martinez is absent, Vice Chair Lua,
Present.
Chair Solorio is absent.
We have a quorum. All Planning and Preservation Commissioners are in attendance, except for two. Are physically present, and no members are participating remotely today for this meeting.
We do have the city attorney attending remotely and the consultants.
You? Commissioner Flor, can you guide us into the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion.
I second.
The agenda passes. The quorum of order. At this time on the agenda, in the quorum of order, Mr. City Attorney, can you please read the quorum on order?
I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of audio issues. Can you please repeat that?
We can hear you.
We can hear you, yes. I'm saying if you could read the quorum of order.
Yes. City commissioners are appointed by city council and must be free to discuss issues confronting the city in an orderly environment. Member of the public attending city commission meetings shall observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to the city council. Any person making impertinent, derogatory, or slanderous remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing a city commission or while attending a city commission meeting may be removed from the room if the presiding officer so directs. The sergeant of arms and such person may be barred from further audience before the city commission.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public statements. There will be an opportunity to speak on the public hearing items during the public hearing for each. Madam Commission Secretary, do we have a public statement this evening?
We don't have any public statements.
This time, we put in consideration to approve the Planning and Preservation Commission meetings, minutes for September 9, 2025, a regular meeting.
I motion.
I second.
Roll call, Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Solorio. Oh, sorry, Vice Chair Lua.
Here.
Chair Solorio and Commissioner Martinez are absent.
For the public hearing, proposed draft amendment to the sixth cycle 2021-2029 housing element to update the site's inventory by removing certain parcels and adding new sites to ensure compliance with the state housing element law, Government Code 65580 and 65589.11. Public hearing is now open for the purpose of considering the proposed amendment. Staff, do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Lua. While the presentation is coming up, we'll go ahead and start. Good evening, Vice Chair, members of the commission. Tonight is a proposed draft amendment to the sixth cycle 2021-2029 housing element to update the site's inventory by removing certain parcels and adding new sites to ensure compliance with the state housing element law. The purpose of the amendment is twofold. One is to update the site's inventory, which is to correct discrepancies in the adopted inventory by removing parcels no longer available or suitable for housing and adding new parcels to ensure adequate capacity. The next is text edits. Essentially is to revise the housing element narrative and tables to reflect the updated site's inventory and also ensuring accuracy and consistency throughout the document. The housing element is required to identify sites that are suitable and available for residential development to accommodate the city's RENA for the 21-29 planning period. In reviewing the adopted housing element, staff identified discrepancies and potential opposition to rezoning some of the sites in the site's inventory that required correction to maintain compliance with the state housing element law. The housing element included a program to establish mixed-use overlay, the MUO, on identified C1 and C2 zone parcels to expand residential development opportunities. The MU, just as a reminder, the MU overlay was adopted earlier this year as part of the requirement under the housing element law. The MUO was formally adopted after the housing element was certified and now applies to 112 parcels totaling 37.95 acres. The overlay allows 100% commercial, 100% residential, or mixed-use development on these sites, thereby creating flexibility for property owners while ensuring adequate residential capacity. The three sites proposed in this amendment are located within the MUO area. Because the MUO zoning district has already been adopted, these parcels currently allow for residential or mixed-use development by right without the need for additional rezoning or legislative actions. As a result, the amendment simply updates the site's inventory and narrative tables to reflect these already rezoned parcels, maintaining consistency with the housing element and ensuring compliance with state housing element law. I want to cover the first 8 parcels that are proposed to be removed. These are also indicated in the attachments of the staff report and the amendment of the housing element. And so I'll go over these. These sites consist of 43 moderate income units that will be removed from the housing element as part of the update. Next slide. So one of them is 1321 First Street. Next slide. And then 1501 First Street. Next slide. 1621 First Street. Next slide. And then next slide. And then 100 North Hubbard Avenue. 2021 First Street. 557 South Brand. And 516 South Brand Boulevard. Next slide. And so the revisions include replacing those 53 moderate income units as described in Table 1. 3 sites are proposed to be added to the site's inventory. Table 2 shows that the total capacity of these 3 sites is now 54 moderate income units. And those 3 sites are as follows. Next slide. First is 1008 Pico Street. 402 and 456 South Brand Avenue. Next slide. In its May 19, 2025 letter as attached in the staff report, the state accepted the proposed revisions to the site's inventory and confirmed that these adjustments maintain the city's compliance with the housing element law, provided that a revised electronic inventory is submitted with the adoption of these amendments. And here is a revised table as indicated in the attached revised housing element is the site's adequacy. See those numbers reflected as part of the changes in removing those 8 sites and then adding the 3 sites as described. Next slide. In processing the amendment pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, this amendment is exempt from further environmental review under the common sense exemption, CEQA guidelines 15061B. 3. In conclusion, staff recommends that the commission adopt Planning and Preservation Commission Resolution 2025-06, recommending that the city council adopt a resolution amending the sites inventory of the sixth cycle housing element of the San Fernando General Plan by removing certain parcels and adding new sites to ensure compliance with state housing law. That concludes staff's presentation. I just would like to make note that our consultant who's been working with city staff and previous planning staff, Bonique Emerson from Precision Engineering, is joining us via Zoom for any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the time for commission questions to staff. Commissioner Sanchez, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. I do have 3 questions, in fact. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Garcia. Actually, this is very similar to the last couple of presentations we had about the housing, so it sort of starts to,
Makes sense.
it's like blending, but I just have a couple of questions for you. So how were the new parcels chosen to be added or removed?
I'm going to defer to our consultant, Bonique, to answer that question.
Hi, Commission members. This is Bonique Emerson with Precision Civil Engineering. So we coordinated with city staff on the selection of these alternative sites, and most of them were already in a sites inventory that the city had before we were on board. They just were not within the housing element. So they were planned to be included in the MUO for quite some time. If you recall, the MUO overlay that went through Planning Commission probably earlier this year or last year, I can't remember now. But these parcels were included in the rezones, the sites that had the MUO overlay added.
I see. Yeah, I do recall that briefly, but thank you. So they were just already part of it. We just forgot to add them, and now we're doing that correction. Is that right?
Yes, so they were parcels that were identified to be included in the MUO. They weren't in the original housing element, but they were part of a revised sites inventory. So they were, and I don't know all of the background because it happened before we were on board, but all of these sites were previously chosen to be included in the MUO. And we chose these sites to be included in the housing element. Actually, the city has more capacity than needed. And we worked with the city to identify those couple of sites that we wanted to replace in the housing element. So I think Ron mentioned before that there was a few sites that were in the housing element that the city did not rezone because there was a little bit of controversy. So since we had overcapacity in the MUO rezone, we chose a few sites to actually include in the housing element inventory that were listed on a previous list. So and already rezoned. Sorry, I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Thank you. Are you, and maybe I'm getting too much in the weed, but do you have, how does one choose a parcel from being, from removing or adding it? What is the criteria to choosing that parcel from what it is?
Yes, so it's in the staff report. So there's certain criteria for the different housing element sites depending on income levels. And the state of California requires us to make certain findings to replace inventory sites. And those findings it should be in the staff report. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me right now. Ron, can you point to the page that it's on? Should be in the staff report. But there's certain criteria that the sites have to meet. So it has to be property that has the potential to be redeveloped. That's one of the criteria. So you can't choose, all completely built out site. There has to be some kind of capacity in order to include them in the housing element. There has to be a potential for redevelopment or new development on the site. So if they're not vacant, then you have to give justification that there's potential for redevelopment of the sites. They can be a lot of them are partially vacant, underdeveloped. And so that's one of the primary criteria for including the parcels in the housing element.
Commissioner Sanchez, as part of they're in the resolution, the attached resolution in the staff report that provides a description for those draft findings as part of the amendment.
Okay, thank you. So with removing these parcels, do you have any anticipated impacts on the community? I think the answer is no, that
No.
it doesn't, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to see if I was thinking about it correctly.
So I can speak to that a little bit. So these properties are already zoned to allow for mixed use development, to allow for residential and commercial development. So including these in the housing element, it doesn't have any impact on the city. So we're not adding any additional capacity that's not already there. Not adding any new uses that aren't already allowed. So we're just going through the motions for the state to make sure these are that the city has enough capacity within the city's housing element. And the only thing that would come up is when at the time that these properties were developed, the city would have to make a certain finding. Like if someone is proposing to develop them with non-residential uses, which is permitted, they could develop with non-residential uses, the city would just have to say, this is the number of units anticipated on that site. The city has excess capacity, so therefore we can allow non-residential development to occur on this property. So just properties within the housing element, if they're developed with non-residential uses, then the city just has to make certain findings, and the city does have excess capacity.
Thank you.
If I may, I'd like to add
Yes.
to the consultant's point is in working with the consultant staff, as she mentioned, we have to keep record of these sites when they're developed. So there is a special calculator that we use to make sure that we don't exceed that threshold because it's imperative that we maintain compliance with the housing element. So as development occurs, we use that calculator to make sure that we stay within our threshold.
Yeah, thank you. And then my last question is, are there any plans in place for the additions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the additions, the parcels that are being added into the housing element, are there plans already in place of what those parcels are designed to be?
Currently, no. There's no current development for those 3 sites.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sanchez? Commissioner Diaz. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do actually. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple questions, actually. I don't know who could actually answer it. The lot acreage, I know you went over it at the beginning. How much is it going to be actually? We're actually removing the 3 parcels and installing these new parcels, right? Is that correct?
Correct. So
Correct.
there's proposed removal of 8 and then proposed addition of 3.
Yeah, and which means that we're adding, I think, 2 more, right? I think in total it would be 50. It was 53 spaces with the original ones, and with the new ones, it's now 54, 56.
So it's based on in total, based on the total number of units for capacity for each of those lots.
Yeah.
They total for those lots that are being removed.
Mhm.
The capacity
Was-
is 53. By adding the 3 parcels, the capacity increases to 54 units. So previously, it just increases by 1.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, and in total, the lot acreage of the new parcels that are being added is how much?
Should be about the same because the capacity is the
Roughly,
same.
roughly how much would that be?
let's see, we should be
Yeah.
removing, let's see.
The reason that I asked that, it's because San Fernando has a total of 1,517 acres. Okay, so how much of this is going to be used up, with the housing element? I think if we add up the numbers, we're going to start seeing something that we might not be too keen.
So the acreage removed and the acreage replaced is the same because we are removing a certain number of properties with a certain number, like a certain capacity, and we're adding. So the net acreage change shouldn't be. It should be similar.
Yeah, I think it was like in the first or second page, I think.
Yes, I'm just doing that rough calculation really quick.
Mm.
And then also just to, my phone's acting quirky here. Hold on one second.
Oh, right now. Sorry. Let me see. I should have just written it down. 44 units.
So the total acreage for the 3 new parcels is 2.13 acres.
Okay. Acres.
And for the commission, so at the end of the housing element, section E, those parcels and those parcels identified include the address, the parcel number, the lot acreage,
Yeah.
its zoning, and total capacity
Yeah.
for the income level.
Got it. So yeah, those are yeah, just for the area those are the questions that I have. Also, another one is are any of these parcels city owned by any chance? Because I know that the city does own some of the parcels, maybe.
So on that same page, it says the ownership. It is, let's see. There's one institutional, I think, yeah, I think one of these parcels, at least one of them is owned by the city.
Okay.
Oh, so the 3 parcels that are being added are from the table are not city owned.
No. Okay.
No. So one of them is educational institutional,
Mhm.
which happens to be, made this note, is
The ones on brand, right?
the San Fernando Church.
Mm.
And then you have the Chase Bank and then the City.
The Citibank, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
There are parcels, and I'm glad you mentioned this, Commissioner Diaz, in the housing element, and I apologize for missing this. There are some sites that are in the housing element that are city-owned.
Mhm.
They were already identified, and as part of, as indicated in the staff report, as we were looking at the housing element, we noticed that there was discrepancies in that there were sites that are city-owned that didn't make it into the document, but they were
Yeah.
planned.
Yeah. No.
So we're cleaning this up and we're adding those.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are the.
Just like I'm actually learning, like literally, that's why I grab the packet like on Friday. I try to grab it on Friday so I can like learn as much as I can. No, it's just the reason I asked that is because I was reading through the packet and it says that we could also be selling the land if it was actually city owned to a developer, or depends obviously if it's privately owned too. Sell it for what the value is worth, but the value of land, as we all should know, goes up. It doesn't go down. So I think that would be that would be a very detrimental, thing to do if we're actually selling it, that city land over to a private, institution. And the reason that I bring that up is because out of the 7 city pipeline projects that are here, well, that I saw right now, 5 of them actually, well, 4 actually are actually apartment units, and one of them is a condominium. So and the other one is mixed residential and a duplex. So a lot of that stuff I just keep on noticing that eventually it's just turning into that. I know everybody knows that I talk about that over and over again, but I just want to be more aware of what's going on. That's it. I guess that's why I'm asking all these questions. What else? I do have some questions, and the reason that I ask these is the impact of water. I know it says no, it fits properly, within our within the parameters. But the last time I believe that the water system was actually installed was back in the 1950s, I believe, under our mayor that hasn't been with us for a very, very long time. And as it stands, we do not have enough police officers. We do want to be in compliance with the state, but at the same time, to me, it seems we're going to be at the mercy of the state eventually. From being an independent city. And the reason that I say that is because it seems like we're not on par with the impact of water. How we're going to be able to sustain ourselves and these people, and the facilities. With the piping system. I know it says on paper that we're able to sustain it, but logically or visually we haven't actually done any studies on this whatsoever. Neither do we have enough police officers as it stands for the amount of people that we have right now. We need more police officers, and I don't know if we're accounting for this because it seems like we keep on going back to the same thing, the 1970 act, that it says that zoning it's fine per volume and everything, but this doesn't match up. So I don't know how are we making this fit. It doesn't seem to me. I don't understand that. How does that work?
No, good question, Commissioner Diaz, and then I'll refer to the consultant to add additional context. But in my experience in developing general plan documents, there's an environmental component. So as long as the units that are planned for capacity for the city,
Mhm.
as long as those don't exceed, and if they do, then it exceeds that threshold, therefore requiring additional environmental review, such as water capacity. As long as we maintain those numbers and stay within those thresholds, there isn't any further requirement, any environmental requirements to study if there's additional water needs that are required. And again, I've experienced if the thresholds, if for example we get a big development and it exceeds our thresholds um, as represented in our general plan environmental documents, then we would have to open up the document for further evaluation to make sure that um, it's in compliance with CEQA.
Yeah, I understand that part, but again, the part that I don't understand, and I don't, or maybe I'm not looking in the right department. That's why I'm trying to get to the water department. Is how much do we actually have? How much of the water that we produce are we actually using up? What's the percentage? Are we at the 80% threshold of what the supply of our wells are creating? I know we barely just started using our own water again. So are we going to be subservient to LA County within the next 10 years because we are overdeveloping, even though I understand that we have to, you know, abstain ourselves to the state requirements and stuff like that, it's going to be detrimental. So, um, are we on par? I know you keep saying that it's like, but the reality, do we actually know how much water we're actually using ourselves as a city,
I don't have that information in front of me, but I can definitely work with our public works team uh, to obtain that information and also review our current environmental documents on what was last evaluated based on water
Mhm.
need, based on future development in the city.
Yeah. Thank you. There's also another question that I have. Well, actually, the consultant, do you know any answers to these questions by any chance?
So this issue did come up originally when the MUO text amendment went through Planning Commission and City Council. And there was some language added to the city's code about ensuring that individual projects do have to be reviewed by um, the city, the relevant city departments, and it has to be determined that there is sufficient capacity in order to approve the project.
But nobody knows
So
what.
on a project by project basis, it would be determined if there's enough capacity to serve the project.
Oh, but we do not
And
know the numbers though, right? Of what we actually like the actual numbers of what San Fernando can actually accommodate. We just go
so
off of the guidelines, right?
in the housing element, when the original housing element was adopted, there was an environmental done specifically for the added capacity. And the number of units that were analyzed under the housing element, what is being added here is below that threshold. And so at that time, it was determined that there wasn't sufficient capacity to serve the additional units that were added during, for the housing element.
Yeah, okay.
I
Thank
don't know
you.
the exact numbers, but that was the determination made.
Commissioner Diaz, as I mentioned, I can work with the Public Works Department to get.
Yeah, yeah.
As Monique mentioned, our projects now, as we receive them, we do work in coordination with the Public Works Department, our Water Department, in evaluating those projects and its water needs. So that way those projects are modified to be able to pencil out.
Gotcha. Okay. I have a couple other questions too. While I was reading the packet, we are the Planning and Preservation Commission. I did notice that in one of the things that was actually mentioned in the packet was if the building, I believe the buildings that are 30 or 50 years or older, they're eligible for redevelopment. And doesn't that go in counter to what we are actually supposed to be, planning and preservation, where they can actually redevelop those places into these units, these housing units, I believe? Yeah, if existing residential buildings is 30 years older, and if existing residential buildings are 50 years or older, No, so let me finish the whole quote. So my question is, does that mean that, are we preserving historical buildings, or are we, allowing new construction to happen regardless of whether these buildings are historical or not?
I'm wondering what section you're referring to.
Page
I will say as
page
part
thir-
of,
2 of 3, 2 of 3. Bottom 4 bullet points. In accordance with the criteria established as described above, which comes from the city's adopted housing element, if a site meets at least 2 of the following 4 factors, it is deemed feasible. The site with an improvement to land value ratio of 1 or less. Existing building structures on site are worth less than the land. Zoning site, and then the second bullet, zoning site is currently zoned to allow residential. Or a third bullet, age of existing structures, if existing non-residential structures, I guess that qualifies them to be added. Or am I reading that wrong? I'm probably reading it wrong, so.
Yeah, that's the criteria to allow sites to be added to the site's inventory.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yep, no further questions for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. I don't have any questions. Now I would like to turn it over for public comments. Do we have any public comments?
No, we don't have any public comments.
Public hearing is now closed. Any additional comments, Commissioner Sanchez and Commissioner Diaz?
Nothing from my part, thank you.
I know I sound like, a broken record, but I'm going to say it again. So I was looking through a lot of the parcels right here, especially the ones that are going through the pipeline, like 827 North McClay, 3119 Haggard Street, North Haggard. And I realized, we're kind of losing San Fernando. I know that, San Fernando has been moving and we're always moving forward, but if you look at Haggard and you can even Google it, just Google map it. I think there's only 2 houses in this one. The 1319 Haggard Street is, I believe, the second to last house before everything else turns into just apartment complexes there. So, I understand why. I guess they're changing it into apartment buildings or duplexes, whatever. But, I'm strongly an opponent proponent for actual housing, for the city of San Fernando, because if not, it's going to become overdeveloped, and I think we should actually scrutinize everything with a fine comb. Other than that, no, there are no further comments.
If I may, I want to say that I'm entirely with you on that I don't want to see San Fernando be turned into, all these apartment buildings. I do like the feeling that we have right now of the homes, right? And I do understand the necessity of making this changes because of the policies, right, that the state mandates. I understand that, but yeah, I agree. We want to do everything in our part to do only the necessary and not make it be, full of apartment buildings.
Yeah, well, that's about it. Other than that, I don't know, maybe get some more income. We can talk about that, how we can get more income so we can be less dependent.
I just want to make a quick comment myself. I believe we went through the zoning change at the beginning. I don't know whether you guys recall that.
That's be fine.
And the reason I did not have any questions is because we already went through the actual parcels and the different areas. We also noted that we didn't want any like additional barbershops everywhere and things like that. I don't know whether you guys remember that conversation. So
Extra dentist.
I believe it's this particular report, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this particular report is basically illustrating us a little bit more in depth of those particular parcels. At least that's my understanding. We already have a zonification for every specific area. This is just confirming what we already discussed.
I agree. Yeah.
Just wanted to make that comment.
No, definitely.
Is there any administrative reports?
Chair, we have to make a vote, close the
sorry.
public hearing. Yeah.
Now the public hearing is closed. Can we take a vote?
Commissioner Sanchez,
I'm sorry, the vote is can you clarify what we're voting for, please?
Oh.
to close the public hearing.
Close
Oh,
the
just to
public
close the,
hearing.
okay,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lua,
Yes.
Sorry. Hold on. So so we're now moving on. The request does include the recommendation and adoption of a resolution to the city council for the amendment.
Okay, so we're voting one more time to push it through to the council.
Correct.
shall I repeat it?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lua,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez, and Chair Solorio are absent.
The next item on the agenda is staff communication.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lua. No, just an update from for the time being. It looks like we will not be having a meeting in the month of November. We will be having a meeting in the month of December. At that meeting, we tentatively plan on bringing the adoption and recommendation to the City Council on the Climate Action Resiliency Plan. So that'll be at the beginning of December. I also just really quickly wanted to just let the Planning Commission know, if you haven't heard already, the governor signed into law SB 79, which essentially it's a historic housing bill for the state, which increases housing near transit. In its initial review, it looks like San Fernando is exempt. But we're currently working with our consultants and our city attorney to verify that there is no impact to the city with the signing of SB 79. If it is that there is an impact, the plan is to come back and have a report to the commission on those findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. So,
Vice Chair Lua, if I may, I have a question on the SB 79. Is that
Okay.
okay? Yeah. Can you remind me just briefly or just in summary, the SB 79, was it something about the mileage surrounding like a mile or something like that surrounding a railroad, a station, a rail station, a train station, and then all of them having to increase their housing? Is something along those lines? Is that right?
Correct. It's so the law is very there's a lot of requirements to that state law. So it's essentially what within a mile radius of the transit station. But again, there are several tiers outlined in the law that we're evaluating, and based on our evaluation of those tiers, San Fernando is not, there isn't an impact from SB 9 on San Fernando.
So the SB 79, I think it was affecting all of LA. And so the Silmar station, I know that's probably out of scope because it's Silmar, it's not necessarily San Fernando, but do we know if that one's,
So in evaluation of that station in particular, no, there is no impact to, from our reading of the law, and working with our consultants, there is no impact to San Fernando because of the number of trains, that pass, so it's lower actually. The state law requires a higher count of, train stops, intervals of trains stopping at the station, so it's less. So there would be no impact to San Fernando within that radius.
and do we know anything about the, if there's any effect to the Metrolink that is planning and how that would affect us with SB 79
That we're evaluating as well.
as well?
But my understanding in my conversations, is, that San Fernando would still be exempt. But again, that time will tell. Again, state laws have, as we've noticed, change.
Sorry, would that also include the metro buses? Because I think if there was like two lines that are contiguous with each other or running parallel to each other, that allows it, right? I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, so an evaluation of those bus lines as well, San Fernando doesn't meet that threshold for SB 79.
Because of the volume, not because,
Correct.
okay, of stops, I guess? Or does it have to be a hub itself?
It's based on the time
Time intervals, okay.
There, isn't there, and this might be a completely different topic, but isn't there a motion or something to try to bring more more buses to this side
The
of the
light rail,
valley?
yeah, yeah. I think in the last city council meeting, they were talking about it too.
Right.
Yeah, that one, and I think the Transportation Commission, too. They have that. I think just became aware of it. I don't know if that's true or not. That I think if this happens, is this the same thing that it's congruent where you can build up to 7 stories and you can bypass the city, local city ordinance?
That's SB 79.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that one. So it behooves us to talk to the transportation.
So we need, we need to
Commission.
talk to the, meaning that, I wonder if the Transportation Commission is aware of this SB 79 being tied to whatever the choice is.
One of them is.
Right.
I'll definitely take note, but also, as you were speaking, Commissioner, probably be a good idea to have also a presentation on keeping the Planning Commission current with what discussions are taking place right now. I know they've been had at the council meeting, but just an update to the commission on what's taking place with Metro and how they're studying and bringing light rail to the city and those impacts.
That would be amazing,
So we'll
please.
definitely do that.
Yeah, it would really help us, especially understand how these, like ASB 79 or everything else is affecting us. So I would appreciate if we can have it in the next presentation in the next meeting in December, if possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if my colleagues are in agreement.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
I
That
motioned for it.
actually- That's in line with our schedule. As you recall, we did a housing law update, and so that coincides with our calendar for December.
Perfect, thank you.
Do we vote on that, or?
Oh,
I think if we're all in agreement, then there's no need to vote.
yeah.
Commissioners, I just want to confirm there was no administrative reports.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The meeting will now adjourn to its next regular meeting.
I motion?
We don't have to motion it, and it's 6:18 p.m.
And right now it's 6:18 p.m.
So
Meeting is closed.
The meeting is closed.